Hello, hello. Welcome to the Occult Raven. I'm Kendra. So this video, I'm going to go in depth, although it will be a short video on the winter solstice. I'm going to go in depth on what the winter solstice is, but it will be short because the topic of the winter solstice and specifically how the sun interacts with the earth and humanity in nature in general is very simplistic, so it does not require a whole lot of explanation. I actually found my very ancient notes. No, but this is a an old notebook of mine from when I used to study hard the constellations, the planets, the stars, and that whole thing. So actually, my notes surrounding the winter solstice are very short. So I'm going to give it to you and lay it out for you how I learned it. But please feel free to go out and dig in. And, if you think that, you didn't get enough out of it, absolutely go dive in and understand more and get more information surrounding the winter solstice. You guys probably hear Papa Legba in the background. It is Magic Monday. If you've been on my channel before, you know that Baron Legba is something, an energy that is very near and dear to me. And while I work with Papa Legba a lot, very specifically, I work with him a lot on Monday because Monday is his day. So Baron Legba, Voodoo, Ilequa, Santeria, the man that stands at the crossroads, however you would like to talk about this spirit, this Loa, this energy, you know, um, it's really all the same. And I just love Papa Legba. So moving on, you know, understanding simple etymology surrounding the word solstice. And let me be clear that there are two solstices during the year. There's a summer solstice and a winter solstice. So, being really clear about the name solstice, the word solstice, sol is a Latin word. We know simple etymology that Latin lends its hand to a ton of English words, right? So, sol meaning the sun in Latin. Yes, you will Google, or you can Google, how do you say sun in Latin, and it will come up solis, Solis. However, if you speak with someone who is native to the Latin language, they will gladly tell you that sun is typically the word that is used for sun. And stis means still. So the solstice is literally the stillness of the sun. And very specifically, the winter solstice will happen 2018 on Friday the 21st. Okay? When you think about the journey that the sun will make, because that is exactly what happens leading up to the winter or the summer solstice. There's a journey that our morning star, the sun, will make. And this sun will move going into the winter solstice. The sun will move from the north to the south. Okay. And this is a 6-month journey. Um, and you can feel the winter solstice coming on. Why? Your days are getting shorter and colder, chillier, right? It really doesn't matter what part of the world you are in. When the winter solstice approaches, your days, absolutely 100%, will get shorter and chillier for the most part. Okay, obviously depending on where you are in the world, but that is usually what happens. So, thinking about the sun and how it grows into the winter solstice, what happens going into the fall of the winter time? Things die. That is really the staple of the winter solstice. And don't get all depressed on me because that's not my intention. This is actually a very happy time. It is, I love the winter solstice, and it can be a time to kill off whatever it is that does not serve your life in a positive manner. Okay? Wildlife retreats, we retreat. When it's cold outside or when it gets chillier, you want to stay indoors. You're not really wanting to go out. It just feels that much more difficult to get out and present yourself to the world. Um, you know, Absolutely, agriculturally, plants die, crops, if you are a sharecropper, a farmer, the winter solstice was bad news. Because if you were trying to provide food for either your family or your community, you had to get all you could get before, well before the winter solstice arrives. Okay, you had to plant and you had to harvest. What you could. Now, do things harvest during the winter? Yes, but very, very, very few. My grandfather was a sharecropper. He was a farmer, and we all knew that you have to get what you can get before it got cold outside, because things would not grow from Mother Earth. The soil would not birth much during the coldness of the winter. And you also think about the sun and how, during the winter solstice, the sun is at its lowest point in the sky, right? You think about something being cold or frigid and getting low and sort of laying down. That could signify death, okay? Someone cold, laid out, still is death, right? So, it's really simple how you can think about it, and you don't need a ton of, books or internet search. Just think about how you feel going from the summer to the winter time. You know this. It gets chilly. You know that hibernation occurs with animals. You know that your plants cease to bloom, right? So, very specifically on the 21st, the sun will come to a point where and we perceive this, that it will not move. It will be at its lowest point in the sky, and it's done. It's a wrap, okay? The sun is like, listen, I'm just hanging out right now. Don't bother me. This is where I'm going to be. Now, where is the sun sitting in the sky during on the 21st? It is sitting in the constellation Crux. Crux. And people pronounce it in different ways, but that's how I say it. It is actually the Southern Cross. Okay, this constellation is referred to as Crux. I'll leave that link below, and feel free to go out, get some books, Google it, do an internet search. It's really not hard to find. But on the 21st, from making this journey, it's 6-month journey from the north to the south, our morning star will cease to move on the 21st. And, you kind of think about, like, wow, okay, there is our star that is basically dying off, okay? It's not emitting, it's not, for a lack of better words, it's not like emitting life, the life force that it usually does, okay? Because it is very still. The sun, and you can look at it like SUN or SON, and this is very specifically where the the death resurrection story of Christ happens. Okay, this is the template for it, right? Because the sun will go to the constellation, the Southern Cross constellation. And, again, I'll leave the link below. If you look at this specific constellation, it is in the formation of what? A cross. Okay? So, our sun dies on this cross and hangs out there for 3 days. It's on the cross. It's just hanging out. So this is very specifically where you get, the death of Christ on the cross. What happens in 3 days? So from the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th, that sun will stay right there in that constellation, okay? On the morning of the 25th, and we can talk about, or I guess you could, look up very specifically like time zones. I'm not going to. I'm just speaking, generally from the north, being in the northern hemisphere. On the morning of December the 25th, the sun will undoubtedly move 1 degree to the north, and this is pretty much the birth of a new sun. Okay, that movement of 1 degree to the north up signifies the rising of the sun. Okay, the resurrection of the Christ. Basically, this is the entire template of the story. It's not very hard to to point this thing out. Okay, so you think about these stories that and not just Christianity, you think if you look into Judaism and Islam, Sufism, Vedic philosophy, Greek mythology, these stories have their beginnings in the sky, right? So, I'll also do a video as to how you can use the winter solstice to aid you in your magical practices or your metaphysical, learning. So you can use the death of the sun and this time during the winter solstice to kill off things that do not serve you, that you want to get rid of out of your life. And it's a perfect time to do it, because you are in alignment with our very powerful force of the sun. You are aligned with nature. You are not going against the grain. You are going with the grain. So, if you think about, you want to get rid of, a substance abuse problem, if you want to get rid of fear, if you want to get rid of doubt, this is a great time to prep yourself to kill off those energies and habits, that thinking, your mindset that does not serve you. And very specifically, I mean, if you've been on my channel before, you know that I am an occultist. So I talk about all things magical, unseen. If you are a magician, if you are in a magical practice, you don't want anything holding you back, okay? Because that is like putting the light out of your magic. You don't want any doubt. You don't want any fear. You don't want to loathe yourself. You don't want to dislike anything about, the magic that you are attempting, because it's going to dead anything that you are trying to do magically, right? And even just getting dense, it's going to fuck up stuff in your life that you're trying to manifest, okay? Relationship, more money, employment. If you have these things weighing on you, they will come out and manifest within your life. So the winter solstice is an amazing time to get rid of, kill off the things that do not serve you. Now, with that being said, we're talking about polar opposites, okay? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So while you are deading one thing that does not serve you, let's say you want to get rid of procrastination, okay? Because I know that's something that affects a lot of people. You want to get rid of procrastination. You have to have a plan as to how you're going to go about that and what's going to come out of that, right? When you kill something off, something must be reborn in its place, okay? We're talking about the polarity of things, okay? For lack of better words, just the polarity of stuff. You know, this is a generalization. You can use it to, if you want to eat better, if you want to get rid of poor eating habits, you have got to have a plan as to how you are going to eat better, or you're going to starve. No, but you're not going to, get better in your eating habits if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a rebirth after you kill something, right? You kill that bad habit, what you going to put in its place? That energy is still there. So just something to keep in mind. I will do a video maybe right after this one, talking about very specific tools that you can use during the winter solstice, that can aid you in your magical practices and metaphysical learning, right? I've actually done a video, maybe 2 videos before this one, regarding fire magic or candle magic, and that is a great tool to use this week, next week, leading into the winter solstice. Get yourself some candles, get in tune. This is when we gravitate towards warmth, the fire, because it is dying out in the sun, right? We're trying to invoke this thing in our homes. We're talking about fire, heat, right? Very powerful element. So, thank you for tuning in. I know this was kind of short. I might be talking fast, but I'll do another video in regards to the winter solstice and magic. So this is the Occult Raven signing off on Magic Monday. Peace.